the splendor of the King, clothed in majesty. Let all the earth rejoice. Let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice. It trembles at his voice. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! And all will see how great, how great. Psalm 145. I will praise you, my God and King, and always honor your name. I will praise you each day and always honor your name. You are wonderful, Lord, and you deserve all praise because you are much greater than anyone can understand. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and pray with one another. If you go ahead and bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather in this place today, as we gather as your people, God, Lord, we just invite you in here. We just invite your Holy Spirit to just come and dwell amongst us this place, God. Lord, help us to just take some time today that we can just kind of exhale, sit down, and focus on you. Lord, we want to take and put our attention on you today. Lord, help us to remove those distractions that are weighing on us, those burdens, those things that we have to do, those to-do lists, what we want for lunch, all of that stuff. God, just help us to get focused on you today. As we take this time, God, as we sing your praises, as we dive into your scripture, as we listen to your scripture expound upon, God, as we lift our voices up to you, as we pray to you today. Lord, bring us closer to you. Reveal yourself to us, God, that we can see who you are and just be amazed by your glory and just how awesome you are. Lord, let that not just be something that falls upon us today, but Lord, let that be something that wells up in us, that we just can't contain it, that as we leave this place today, God, that we just have to go out and share that with others. You are so awesome and so amazing. And I thank you for all that you do for us. And in Jesus' name we pray. And everyone said, amen. You don't have to, but if you can, stand and sing with me. I'd appreciate that. sing Cornerstone.
Morning, church. We come to our time of our worship time, that we come around the table, the communion table. You know, me and Lisa started this new program where we're going through the Bible again. Each day we have a passage we go through. We go to the Old Testament and New Testament. And this past month, we've been going around to the sacrifices and the things they had to do year after year. And it was mandatory that they did these sacrifices. And how they did the sacrifice, where they had to put their hand on the head of the animal, and they slaughtered the animal, and they had to do these things about pulling things out and burnt offering and taking the carcasses outside the tent and getting rid of it. And there's so many things to these festivals they had to do. And it was pleasing to God at that time. You know, you start reading stuff like that, and then you see where Jesus came in, and once and for all, it was finished. No more sacrifices year after year, because Jesus did it one time, and that was all once and for all. You know, and then you start really starting to appreciate how our God loves us so much that he sent his son. And then we come around this table, the new covenant, where Jesus died on the cross, took all of our sins, and this is gone. We're covered by Jesus' blood. And the new covenant is sent there. We talked about it at the Last Supper, at the Passover. Take this bread, this is my body which I give for you. Then he takes the cup, says, this is my blood that will be poured out for you. Do this in remembrance of me. So as we take of this, we remember that Jesus, once and for all, sacrificed for us for our sins. He is the reason that we worship like we do today. This table represents that. We have been blessed by our Lord. He came, he saved us, and then we wait for him to return. That's also the table we wait, to promise that he will return for us. Would you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, as we come around this table today, Lord, be with us and guide us. Lord, help us not to take these elements in vain, but help us remember, Father, the sacrifice our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ did for us, Lord. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. All right, again, we come to our time of our service. We take up the tithes and offerings. And this is the work here in Bowling Green and around the world of our missionaries. Would you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, I take this time, Lord, and I just thank you, Father, for all the blessings. Father, we know everything is yours, so we come this time, Father, of our tithe and offerings. Father, help us to give with a grateful heart and a loving heart. Father, we ask you to bless the gift and the giver. Father, give you your wisdom and show us where you want it to be used. Father, guide us in all things. It's in Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'd like to, folks, just take a moment to greet one another and especially greet those who are visiting with us. Good morning, everyone. Okay, stop talking. No, I'm not singing. I am not. If you don't stop talking, I will start singing. Good morning, everyone. We are glad you are here and part of this assembly, and just grateful to see you. If you're visiting with us, we are especially happy to have you here and in our assembly. We hope you find great comfort in being here and the things that we talk about and all of that. For us, it's all about the Lord Jesus Christ. We talk about Him every time we come together. And so we want you to know and to understand that. How many of you are NASCAR fans? Well, there's a smattering. People go, I don't know. The Great Daytona 500 was last weekend. They postponed it till Monday because of rain, but I tell you what, it's something to see. I was reminded because a few years ago I was there. And it was the one and only NASCAR race I've ever been to. My son, his father-in-law, got tickets from somebody he knew in Florida, and we all went together. I flew down and met him there, but we all were there together, and it was a great time. More than 100,000 fans are there, and I want to tell you, it is a colorful crowd that you run into at NASCAR races. But we had a great time. My son's father-in-law and his friends sat on the front side of the track where the big stands are. And we sat on the back side of the track. That's where we had tickets. They didn't have reserved seats and all of that on the back side. But it didn't matter to us about that. And one of the most incredible things, I'll tell you what, if you've never been to one, now, a friend of mine said, once you go, you'll be a fan. Well, I wasn't. And you may find this hard to believe, but between lap 40 and after about lap 40, you're like, man, it's just boom, boom, boom. And about lap 40, I took out a piece of paper and started writing a sermon. Yeah, by the time the race was done, I was done with the sermon preached next week, so I was well ahead on my preaching schedule. But we were sitting back there, we got around there, Michael and I, and we looked at these stands in the back, and they're not nearly as imposing as the stands in the front, and at that time at least, they did not have any reserved seating, and so we got around there, and everybody was sitting up high in these stands. I said, Michael, man, all the best seats are still here. They're down low. And so we took our seats, and I'll tell you why that's funny in just a moment, but we took our seats, and we could hear things on the other side. We really couldn't see anything because the infield is just filled with campers and all kinds of equipment and things like that. And so you really can't see what's going on, but we could hear it. We could hear the guys say, "Gentlemen, start your engines," and all of that. And a great roar went up. And when they finally started the race, I'm telling you, it's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. First, we hear it. It's like the roar of a great beast. You just hear all of these engines start and come to life and revving up the engines and all of that. And then we didn't see them until they got toward that far turn from where we were sitting, and we began to see them coming into that turn. And that's a 37-degree incline coming around that end. They say if you're not going 60 or 70 miles an hour, you can slide off that thing. It's so steep. And of course, that's designed to keep the speed up. And then we saw them come around this turn down here away from us, and they're coming right toward us. And I want to tell you, at that point, Michael and I both looked at each other, and both of us said the same word at exactly the same time. Wow. If you've watched it on TV, it's one thing. If you've seen it in person, it is an imposing sight. These guys are going in excess of 200 miles an hour, sometimes inches from one another. It is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It was just amazing to watch how fast these people are going and how close they are as they go. Even as they're going side by side, it looks like at times their doors could almost touch. And we just both said at the same time, wow. And the reason it was funny, we were sitting down low. If you're sitting down low, you can see them coming, you're fine. You can see them going, and you're fine. If you look here where they are, you can't see anything but a blur. It'll make you dizzy. It's nothing but a blur right here. They are going so fast. I can imagine. If you've ever gotten your car up to 100 miles an hour, and you say, wow, I'm really going fast, double it. That's how fast they're going. It's an amazing sight. And both of us, I'm telling you, it was just attention-getting. It was. You watch that the first time when they come around that track, and you're like, wow. That's what happens in Acts 2, 1 through 13. That's what Doug talked about last week. We're gonna move on. But it was that Holy Spirit attention-getting moment. It was when that Spirit came into the world and you heard the sound from heaven like a roaring of a mighty windstorm, and it filled the place where they were sitting, and then there was something that looked like flames of tongues of fire appeared and settled on each of them, and then all of a sudden they began to speak in languages they did not know and dialects they have never studied. And it was that wow factor. It was attention getting. Well, I'll tell you what it did for them. It brought thousands of people together. I don't know how many there were, but here's what I do know. There were 3,000 baptisms that day, and not everyone was baptized. I'm going to tell you that there were thousands and thousands more who came into that area, and I think it was the area of the temple, because at the end we find them meeting at the temple. I think it was in the temple in the great complex around the Holy of Holies and all of that, where great crowds could gather. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of people. This thing was so big and so attention-getting. It was the wow factor. This is where the Spirit blasted into our world. Not that the Spirit had not done things before in this world, but at that time, he blasted into the world, and as Jesus said he would, and he gave some miraculous powers when he came to others. He would fill them and prepare them for certain works and missions. He would use his miraculous powers to get the attention of unbelievers and to indwell the saints as their down payment for the hope they have, and more to guide folks into all truth. He would do all of that. I want to tell you, this was not a small phenomenon. It brought thousands together. Thousands together. Thousands together. Then after the Holy Spirit has gotten the attention of much of the city, the Apostle Peter stood, all eyes on him. He is now the focus of all attention, and he began to speak. From that point on, it's basically a Bible study and a 4-point sermon. The first point was what Doug covered last week, and that is the Spirit is poured out. He goes all the way back to the prophet Joel. So this is a Bible study, right? He goes all the way back to the prophet Joel, and he says, Joel talked about this, and when you read Joel 2, he describes it pretty well, what's happening at this moment. And Peter said, you have been wondering all of this time where this came from, why it's here. Go back to the prophet Joel, a prophet you know, and listen to what he says. He said it was going to happen. And now it has. And point number 2, and this is from Acts 2:22 to 24, he tells them that hope is given. I love these passages, and I've got 2 things to do today. And so we're going through these passages rather quickly. He says, people of Israel, listen. Don't you just want to say that to folks sometime? You need to listen. I came back from Cyprus after Sherry and I had been converted, and I thought everybody needed to know this. I didn't know that everybody thought they knew it. I thought everybody needed to hear what I just heard, respond to what I've just responded to put on Christ, be baptized into Him. I thought everyone needed to do that. I thought everyone would listen. I found out rather quickly that they don't and wouldn't, and I found some just flat didn't care. As a naive young believer, I was kind of bummed by that. People of Israel, listen to me. God publicly endorsed Jesus the Nazarene by doing powerful miracles and wonders and signs through Him, as you well know. And what He's telling them is that He's done these things openly among you. You know exactly what He has done. And then He says that you betrayed Him, and with help of lawless Gentiles, you nailed Him to the cross, you killed Him, but God released Him, and this is from the NLV, and I like this. God released Him from the horrors of death. And I heard that. I'm going to tell you, I've seen death. And so have most of you. I've experienced it in the lives of others. I've seen how devastating it is to families. I have been there when people received the news that it was coming. I have often wondered what that's like. When a doctor looks you in the eye and says, it's terminal and there's nothing we can do. And we put a lot of reliance on modern day medicine, don't we? And it's good. I want to tell you, it's good. We can do things today that just years ago people would have died from easily, but today we can fix it and cure it and do all of that. But I want to tell you, there still comes a time in life when we are going to face that reality. Someone said, and I think they're right, the truth is we are all terminal. It's just a matter of time, isn't it? Released Him from the horrors of death. So I want to scream from the top of the world, the resurrection, it made a difference. I'm going to tell you, and you can take this to the bank, I don't fear death. I don't fear it. Now, there are some ways you say, well, would you, if you died this way or that way, would you be okay with it? I don't want to die any particular way. I don't want to go through suffering and all of that, but I'm going to tell you, I don't fear death. When I leave this world, don't celebrate my life. You celebrate the life of Jesus. Because the only reason I can leave this world and not fear death is because of Him. And I learned that early on, man. The resurrection became everything to me. I've sat at the bedsides of many, many people who waited on it. But the Bible's telling us that He would be released from it. That, yeah, He would die, but He would be released from it. This is vividly expressed, by the way, in baptism. When we are buried into death and raised up to a new life. I want to tell you, when we are buried into that death and raised up to a new life, it is with a view toward a resurrection at the end of time. That's why He depicts it in those waters where you're buried into that water to death. You're raised up to a new life that is with a view toward a future resurrection, a literal coming back from the dead. I'm going to tell you that your body, the very body that you have in this world, when it dies, He is going to raise it back to life. That's exciting, isn't it? And I have every confidence, by the way, that when He raises this body, And I want you to understand, I mean this body, this body, this body. When he raises it back to life, he's going to make me a lot better looking. See, I imagine all kinds of things because I can do that. I don't know exactly how it's going to be, but I can imagine what God's going to do. And to make his point clear, he again goes back to the Old Testament. It's a Bible study, you understand, that he is performing with these people. He goes back to the Old Testament. He quotes from David in the Messianic Psalms of 16 and 110. And he said, look, David talks about this. We don't have time to read it all. But David talks about this. David said, and this is way back, listen, this is 1,000 years before this. David says, for you will not leave my soul in Hades, in the Hadean world. You will not leave my soul without a body, or allow your Holy One to rot in the grave. That's the New Living Bible. Well, he didn't. He was only in there a short time before his body was raised from the dead. We may be in there longer. And I'm going to tell you something. He's going to raise us the same way. Make no mistake about it. And in point 3, he tells them that a response is required. And on April 1973, this is what we were taught to do. Here's what he said. Each of you must repent of your sins. See, he gets to a point where they say, what do we need to do? He had made the point. He had gone back to the prophecy of Joel. He had gone back to the 16th Psalm. He had gone back to the 110th Messianic Psalm, and he had talked about Jesus, and he had presented both the Holy Spirit and Jesus from those passages. And then as he looks at this thing, they say to him, what shall we do? At least part of this crowd got it. You know what I've wrestled with over the years? I've wrestled with why everybody doesn't get it. I wrestle with the reality that in neighborhoods all around this building, people are sitting at home reading their Sunday papers, drinking their morning coffee, having conversation, watching TV, whatever it is they may do on Sunday, but they are not in a faith community because they don't believe this. Or at least they don't believe it enough. And I want to tell you, I've struggled with that. How could anybody not accept it? I've studied the resurrection. I've studied the time. The resurrection convinced me that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. It convinced me that all I believe is true based on that one great reality. You understand, he's preaching this sermon only a very short time after the death and resurrection of Jesus in this very city. You can't, what's that commercial? You can't fake steak. You can't fake this. These were the very people who could have proven it untrue. These were the very people who could have gone to the tomb and brought the body of Jesus into the town square in Jerusalem, said, here he is, this thing is a fraud. And I'm going to tell you, had they done that, whatever else we may be doing today, we wouldn't be here. Each of you must repent of your sins, turn to God, be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ for the forgiveness of your sins, and then you will receive gift. And I believe this is the indwelling of the Spirit of the Holy Spirit. That's what we were taught. That's what we did. We drove at 3 o'clock in the morning or so on that night, and our little daughter, Christina, was in a crib, and one of the ladies stayed with her, and we drove 45 minutes to the Mediterranean Sea and did exactly what God wanted us to do. buried into death, raised up with a view toward a future resurrection. And then this is point 4. Then he tells us to grow into the image of Jesus. That's why we're here. Nearly everyone in this auditorium, I expect, is a child of God. We're here trying to grow. By the way, I'm going to say a lot about this in the next few minutes. We're not done yet. I'm not going to let you off all that easy. Listen to what he said. I'm going to read 42 and 46 and 47. All the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. So are we. What we have here. We don't have the actual apostles here teaching us as they have, but this is what we have from them. And then he finishes the chapter saying they sold their property and possessions. I'm sorry, let me drop one down. They worshiped together at the temple each day. Met in homes for the Lord's Supper, shared their meals with great joy and generosity. All while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those that were being saved. Man, this thing seemed the focus of their life. Continue daily studying the apostles' doctrine, holding the New Testament, spending time together, not being caught up in this world, no longer perplexed about life or death or the ugliness of this world, sharing the simple message with others. I'm going to tell you the ugliness of this world is there. We learn through all of this that this world is not our home. It's simple. It's not simplistic, but it's simple. It's the message of Acts 2. It is the message of Acts 2. It is the gospel. It is what we rally around. It is what has become important to us. We get caught up in all these other little things that we fuss and fight and argue about, but I'm telling you, I've given you the heart of the message. When we look around the Christian world today, there's confusion. I want to talk a little bit about the Restoration Movement because I've been given an impossible task. Preach on Acts 2 and the Restoration Movement all at one time. There's confusion, an array of various churches, different names, different doctrinal positions, different traditions. And it's stifling. Especially when we read things like this. For there is one body, one Spirit, just as you have been called in one glorious hope for the future. There's one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father who is over all and in all and living through all. Seems almost to be a disconnect sometimes. I was recently asked if I believe that we are a restoration church. My answer to that is yes, and I'm going to explain it as we move along. The restoration is a real thing. How many of you have heard of the restoration movement? Quite a few of you. Good for you. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, especially for those who may not know much about it. But it dates back to the late 18th and early 19th century, and it's still very much around today. And it was meant to be a unity movement. At times, whole churches, by the way, gave up their creed books and affiliations to accept just the Bible. Whole churches did that. And it came to the conclusion that this is all we need. And again, I'm going to relate it to our time back in Cyprus because that's what I relate a lot of things to, because that's where we started. I'm going to tell you, when we started there, I didn't know anything even about this Bible, but I can tell you that in the coming days and weeks that we were there, it was all about this. It was about learning it, understanding it. I remember one time Joe was teaching a class and got on a topic, and I raised my hand, and out of my ignorance, I said, Joe, I just don't think God would do that. Now, I want to tell you what he could have done. He could have shut me down. He could have said, you know, Bill, you need to spend a lot of years learning before you challenge me. You need to spend time studying and understanding the Scriptures to a much greater degree than you do right now before you come after something I'm telling you. But he didn't do that. He looked at me in the midst of these people because we were in a house, because it was a house church. By the way, I think we are nothing but a big house church. He looked at me and said, well, he said, let's just keep on studying. And that satisfied me. I was okay with that. He didn't look at me and say, you know, you're just wrong, and you got to know you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you you're wrong. He just said, let's keep on studying, and I liked that. It showed that the Word of God was supreme in his mind and in his heart, and it became that way in my mind, in my heart as well. So this thing, and I'm going to put up, oh, we're already up there. Good deal. These are some of the leaders of the Restoration Movement, only a few of them. It actually started in about 6 different places, almost all at the same time. But 2 of the most prominent are Thomas and Alexander Campbell. I've been to Alexander Campbell's house. It is a little bit north of Wheeling, West Virginia. It's in Bethany, West Virginia at the time he bought it. And most of the time he worked at and owned it and all that, it was Bethany, Virginia. But it became West Virginia, of course, after the Civil War. And I've been in his house. I've seen his study. He has a study right outside of the house. It's a separate building. It was kind of a round building, or maybe with some square sides going around, maybe like an octagon or something like that. And you could look inside. You couldn't go inside. But he did all of his studying beginning somewhere around 4:30 every morning, standing up. Now, he was well ahead of his time, because a lot of people in offices today buy those things that you can lift up, and so it raises your desk up to where you are, and you can stand up, and you can work standing up, and they say it's better for you, and that's what he did. He never sat down to study. Alexander Campbell was an intellectual. He went all over the world debating the gospel of Jesus Christ. He debated atheists in any part of the world they wanted to debate, and he was an amazing man. I have some reproductions of books that he wrote, publications mostly, like the Christian Baptist and the Millennial Harbinger and works like that. And he's an interesting man to read. They were interesting people. I'm going to tell you, while in Cyprus, we lived out the tenets of Acts chapter 2. I had gone to churches with friends a few times, didn't like them. When I met Sherry, I went to church with her. I wondered which one of them we were when we got ready to leave Cyprus. Here we are, a group of people. We were taught the gospel of Jesus Christ. We were baptized into Christ. We studied every day, and at least most days, and our assembly was just simply meeting in a house, and the Lord's Supper was prepared, sitting on an end table, waiting for us just simply to pass it around to one another when we got to that point, and all of that. And that's what we were when we left. I wondered, what are we? What are we? The whole idea of restorationism was to restore the New Testament church, as it's found in the pages of God's Word, the Bible. In every case, they settled upon a name, and it was a name having to do with Christ or Christians. It was Christian Church or Churches of Christ. Now, our case is Christ Church, always identifying us with Christ. Always identifying us with Christ. It was never identifying us with a methodology, or identifying us with another human being, or identifying us with some way of doing something. It was always identifying us with Jesus Christ and nothing else. And so their baptism was by immersion and for the remission of sins, and their Lord's Supper was observed the first day of every week. How was it possible? By the way, I missed something. Go back to slide 10. Are we there? Maybe that's the next. Go to slide 10. Here are 4 slogans of the Restoration. In essentials, unity. In non-essentials, liberty. In all things, love. Don't you like that? Where the Bible speaks, we speak. Where the Bible is silent, we're silent. Isn't that what Paul said? I declare to know nothing among you save Jesus Christ and crucified. Number 3, we have no creed but Christ. And no book but the Bible. That's all we have. When you come here, you don't study a book that tells you what we all believe. What you study is the Word of God. It's what we open. Even if we use another kind of study like the ladies may be doing on Wednesday night, it may be a video study, a book study, I don't know exactly what it is. It's about the Bible. And then here is the 4th slogan. We are the only Christians, but not Christians. I'm sorry. We are not the only Christians, but Christians only. When I get ready to get out of service, I needed to sign papers. They wanted me to put down my religious affiliation. I put Christian. I'm just a Christian. They struggled with that. Wait a minute. You can't just have that. You got to have something else. What kind of Christian are you? Well, I'm just a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. I'm a believer of the Bible. That's all I am. But you got to put something else down. There's got to be some kind of an affiliation. I said my only affiliation is with Christ. I can't remember. We compromised in some way and went on from there because I needed to get out. You see, they had one factor in common. They all took the Bible as God's divinely inspired word and attempted to live and worship only with that. In other words, they rid themselves of all creeds except the Bible. It became their blueprint. Much like a builder might use a blueprint to build the same house again and again. And all we have, by the way, if you look on our website, we have I printed it out. We have a statement of faith, and that thing takes up about 3/4 of a page is all that it takes up. It's not very long. And basically it says that we believe in Jesus, the Son, we believe in the Father, we believe in the Holy Spirit, we believe in the virgin birth. It really talks about the very basic fundamentals of Christianity that make you a Christian. Can I tell you something? You know I'm going to anyway. I don't want anyone telling me what I have to believe. I think God gives me that. But that mission statement that we are, that statement of faith that we have, basically it says, this is what all Christians have to believe to be Christians, and it's right. I've had people ask me, they say, and Doug has had the same experience, what does your church teach about this or that? And I got the same answer every time. I'll tell them, with regard to those issues, our church has no teaching. I can't speak for all of these people. They may actually disagree with me. I know that's hard to believe, but they may actually disagree with me about things. Now, I can tell you what I believe about a whole myriad of issues. In fact, I'm willing to do it anytime, any place. In 1809, Thomas Campbell wrote the Declaration and Address and began to solidify this movement called the Restoration Movement. The Bible is to be our only guide. The Restoration leaders believe the Bible is the inspired Word of God. This is important to what they were saying. Give up sectarian names, which are seen as one of the great divisions, and to call ourselves by His name, by Christian. Name our churches only after Him. This name was acknowledged as one belonging to Christ. Call Bible things by Bible names. In the Great Commission, Jesus instructed His disciples to teach those who had baptized to observe all things He had commanded. Take, for instance, and I'll give you this instance, the practice of sprinkling as baptism. That practice is not found in the New Testament. The idea of sprinkling babies is not found in the New Testament. It evolved over a period of time. It started out as clinical baptism for people that were sick. We'll sprinkle them because it's easier than immersing them. And then they decided that it was easier to sprinkle everyone rather than immersing anyone. You don't need baptistry such as we have built into this floor, and you can just do that anywhere, anytime, with just a little bit of water, and everything is all in good. One problem with that: New Testament doesn't know anything about it. The word baptizo means to immerse, submerge. The very idea is expressed in Romans 6 and Colossians 2, and that is called a burial. In Acts 8, where they go down into the water, come back up out of the water, and other such things. Number 5 on that list was speak where the Bible speaks and be silent where the Bible is silent. I just don't know anything except the gospel of Jesus Christ. I can talk about other things, but I'm going to tell you that's what matters to me. Thomas Campbell's Declaration and Address, among other things, if you don't believe it was the Unity Movement, said this. It said that the Church of Christ upon earth is essentially, intentionally, constitutionally one, consisting of all those in every place that profess their faith in Christ Jesus. That although the Church of Christ upon earth must necessarily exist in particular and distinct societies, locally separate from one another, yet there ought to be no schisms, no uncharitable division among them. He said that with respect to the commands and ordinances of our Lord Jesus, no human authority has power to interfere by making laws for the church, nor can anything more be required by Christians in such cases, but only that they observe these commands and ordinances as given in the Bible. By the way, we believe this is the inspired Word of God. When was the last time you picked it up and read it? When was the last time you were in a Bible study where it's taught? Oh, I can get personal. I've done that very same thing to myself, by the way, asking myself if I'm a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. Why am I not doing this or doing that or doing something else? This needs to be the absolute focus of my life, no matter what else in my world may be going on. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to teach my children. This is what I need to express before my grandkids. He goes on to say, and we're almost done, so just hang with me another minute or two. I told you I was given an impossible task. If I take 4 more minutes, it'll be okay. This division among Christians, Thomas Campbell goes on to say, is a horrid evil fraught with many evils. It is anti-Christian and anti-scriptural. That our ministers duly and scripturally qualified by none other things than those articles of faith and holiness expressed and revealed and enjoined in the Word of God. I don't have any right to enjoin upon you anything that I can't find in Scripture. A hierarchical group some years ago, they handed down from the ivory tower someplace that all of their churches can no longer sing war songs. Onward, Christian soldiers is out. If I'd have been a song leader the very next Sunday, you know what I would have led? You got it. See, we have no right as ministers, as elders, to enjoin upon you anything. One of the things I love about these elders, they just don't make laws. And I'm not a law enforcer. So that's the heart and soul of the Restoration Movement. I know I went through it fast. I like to go through some of the history of it. Campbell's were interesting people, and I've got writings by him, and there are others that wrote commentaries, just good people. So that's the heart and soul of the Restoration Movement. What does it mean to me? And this is where I'm going to kind of end up. You can bring up that last slide there. It means I'm bound by no one's tradition. We do some traditions here, some things in the same way. It's okay. But I'm bound by no one's tradition. I am under no one's laws except God's. And then I have the right, even the responsibility, to study Scripture and understand what it means. I have the right and even the responsibility to study Scripture and to know what it means. So do you. So do you. One of the things I learned about the Restoration Movement, and I found out that in Cyprus we were actually part of that movement, was the simplicity of the gospel teaching. When we got together with other people, we didn't talk about all the issues. Forget that. We talked about the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Because that's man's only hope. And it is the only way to escape the horrors of death. Well, we're going to sing an invitation song, and maybe you are inclined to respond today. It may be that you've been struggling with something. I want to tell you, man, over the years I've struggled with things. I have struggled with things. Everybody does. But Christ has always been working in my life to keep me where I am, to bring me back if I stray even a little. So I want you to know if you need prayers today, there's nothing to be shamed by that. We'll pray for you. If you're not responding to the gospel, you can do that today in faith and repentance and baptism for the remission of your sins. Let's all stand together as we stand and sing, and if we can help you, please come forward.
You have my heart, and I am yours forever. You are my strength, a God of grace and power. And
Nobody said at the bottom was because you're going in front of you, it's a word that makes you dizzy. Yeah.
All righty. I've got an announcement. I'm going to read the whole announcement to you from Terry Allstott. It's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, do you know how loved you are? They want you to join them in a baby shower honoring Emily. Right here in writing, too. It's also March 14th here at the church from 12:30 to 2:30. They have registration at Walmart and Amazon. So I'm pretty sure these flyers are going to be given out. So then I have Ashley Eaton says, praise the good Lord. Twin baby girls are doing wonderful. The bigger one, Ida, is now off the CPAP machine and fully breathing on her own. She is, her weight now is close to 5 pounds. The smaller one, Ada, is now on the CPAP machine and growing stronger. Still need to continue prayers for the family, Casey, Adam, and Darla. And then we have one from Larry and Judy. It says, please pray for Rosemary, recovering at home from surgery, 2 more surgeries ahead of her. So let's keep those. Also, too, just want to remind our bulletins, very back page, we have people on that prayer list that we need to continue praying for. And there are also some people that haven't been on the prayer list that are going in for surgery this next week coming up, so we want to keep them in prayer too. So would you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord, and you're such a wonderful God. Lord, we keep praying, and I see you continue answering prayers, Father. You're so wonderful. We thank you for that. So we lift these names up to you, Father God. We ask you again to please heal them, be with them, bring your peace and joy and your comfort with them, Father God. Father, you are so wonderful. We thank you for our church family here, Father. We lift them all up to you. Lord, help us to spread your gospel here in Bowling Green and across this nation, Father. Be with us, guide us, and protect us, Father. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen. Have a great week.
haters of God, insolent, proud, and boastful. They invent new ways of sinning, and they disobey their parents. They refuse to understand, break their promises, are heartless, and have no mercy. They know God's justice requires that those who do these things deserve to die, yet they do them anyway. And worse yet, they encourage others to do them also. Yes? He's referring, let me get over here, I got to be at this mic. He starts out his argument about man becoming corrupt. And he first talks about Gentiles, those who are not Jews. When we get into chapter 2 here, he's going to turn that around. But he's initially talking about the pagans, the heathen, the Gentile, those who were not God's chosen people. Now, if you've read the scriptures much, you know how the Jews felt about Gentiles. Yeah, they were dirt. They were the ungodly filth of the earth. Now, in Christ and in the church in Rome, these people are brought together as one body in Christ. So now you have this filth that's coming into these holy gatherings, as Israel would see it. And so it caused a lot of conflicts all through the New Testament. That would be a huge, huge struggle for them. Now, if you're thinking about what these Jewish Christians are thinking as these pagans, heathens are coming in and claiming their God, they thought they were better than these other people. They saw themselves as the holy and the good, and the Gentiles as the filthy and unrighteous. And Paul is dealing with that view, and he's going to get into that here in chapter 2. Chapter 2, verse 1, and speaking to the Jews now, he's going to switch gears. You may think you can condemn such people, but you are just as bad, and you have no excuse. When you say they are wicked and should be punished, you are condemning yourself, for you who judge others do these very same things. And we know that God, in his justice, will punish anyone who does such things. Since you judge others for doing these things, why do you think you can avoid God's judgment when you do the same things? Don't you see how wonderful, kind, tolerant, and patient God is with you? Does this mean nothing to you? Can't you see that his kindness is intended to turn you from your sin? But because you are stubborn and refuse to turn from your sin, you are storing up terrible punishment for yourself. For a day of anger is coming when God's righteous judgment will be revealed. He will judge everyone according to what they have done. He will give eternal life to those who keep on doing good, seeking after the glory and honor and immortality that God offers. But he will pour out his anger and wrath on those who live for themselves, who refuse to obey the truth and instead live lives of wickedness. There will be trouble and calamity for everyone who keeps on doing what is evil, for the Jew first and also for the Gentile. But there will be glory and honor and peace from God for all who do good, for the Jew first and also for the Gentile. God does not show favoritism. When the Gentiles sin, they will be destroyed even though they never had God's written law. And the Jews who do have God's law will be judged by that law when they fail to obey it. For merely listening to the law doesn't make us right with God. It is obeying the law that makes us right with God. The law that Paul's speaking about there is the Mosaic law, which entailed many moral values. You know the Ten Commandments would be a group of the moral law. But it also had ceremonial laws that were the sacrifices and the different feasts, and they were all pointing to ways that they would worship and show respect and revere God. Even Gentiles, verse 14, who do not have God's written law, show that they know his law when they instinctively obey it, even without having heard it. They demonstrate that God's law is written in their hearts, and their own conscience and thoughts either accuse them or tell them they are doing right. Now here's the second one of those things that every one of us experience, every human being experiences every day, that shows us that there's a God. Even with this on? Okay. I can't tell because it sounds loud to me. Okay. Here's the second thing. We all experience nature. We see God in nature. But also, just as this little video was showing you, one other way that we experience it is through moral experience. Notice that he says, even the Gentiles who do not have God's written law in verse 14 show that they know his law when they instinctively obey it, even without having heard it. Do you have to be a Christian to know that murder's wrong? Do you have to be a Christian, as that showed, that abusing children is wrong? No, you don't. And if you go out in the world, C.S. Lewis called it the ought-tos. If you do something against someone, they're going to know it, and they're going to tell you, and it doesn't matter whether they're a Christian or not. Because within us is an understanding of, we don't know every law of God initially, or the specifics of what's good and evil per se, but we do know there is good and evil. Every human being knows that. Now, they don't know it from birth. The Old Testament speaks about times before they knew right and wrong, children. But there comes a point when we do understand and we realize, first of all, we realize it's against other people. That's the first one. We don't know about God yet. But there comes a point in everyone's life where they realize it's against the higher authority that has created these, that made them. And not only that, Paul says they know that they are due punishment for it. Now, most people think that most atheists don't believe that there are objective moral values. But the quote from the guy who said, and I don't remember which one I think he used raping children, that they were just as ignorant as somebody who didn't understand that 2 + 2 = 5, and they're both ridiculous statements. That was an atheist. That wasn't a Christian. So they all know, we all know, before we become Christians, that there is good and evil. And we experience it through our conscience. So those people who don't hear the gospel hear that there's a God in two ways. They see it in nature, and they experience it through their moral experience, and that there is good, evil, right, and wrong. So they're all without excuse. Now, does that mean they know Jesus? That they know there's a Jesus, and they know that he's their Savior? Do they know all that? But God says they're accountable, right? So they're accountable to what? What are they accountable for? How will that judgment be based? Yeah, it's based on what you do know, not what you don't know. Yeah. How you react to the understanding that you see that there is a higher power, that there's a designer. How you react to knowing that there's good and wrong, and that there is a moral being, that there's morality that is transcendent and beyond just your own personal opinion. The one way that it's put is that you're judged by the light you have. Now, God has said here, through Paul, that these people are accountable. Jesus has not been mentioned in any of this, because people just don't instinctively know there's a Jesus as their Savior, but they instinctively know these other things, and they will be judged by that. If they seek to do good and desire good and are thankful, if they look and they seek to know this Creator and find out about Him, what's a promise Jesus gives us about seeking? Yeah, seek and you'll find. Now, you know, the odds of, and God could do it, but the odds are that He's not going to time things where His return or death come, that every person is going to be at the same stage, and they're all going to be adults, and they're all going to understand Jesus. There's going to be people at different stages of their walk, but they're all going to be judged. So it's being judged by the light they have, where they are in that. They could be in many different places in that walk, many levels of understanding in that walk, but they will be judged by what they do know and what He has revealed to them not what they don't know. How could you? How could God judge you by what you don't know, what you don't understand? Would that seem just to you? It would not to me. So let's move on. But God's law is written in their hearts, it says, in their consciences. We know that there is good and evil. I'm on 16. And this is the message I proclaim, that the day is coming when God, through Christ Jesus, will judge everyone's secret life. You know, there's one thing about that. No matter who is saved, no matter if they're judged by this minimal light that some will have, that just understanding of the creation and morality, everyone who is saved will be saved because of the death of Christ, because of the payment he made. It is the only thing that opened the possibility of that in. Remember, he died for the sins of who? The whole world. Not just me and you. He died for the sins of the whole world. Every human being, their sins have been paid for. So the judgment that comes on them is not about their sins particularly. It's about their seeking God and seeking and having faith in what's been revealed to them. So anyone who's saved, it will not be on anybody's merit. I don't care who they are. I don't care how they are saved, what amount they know or don't know. It will never be on their own personal merit that they're saved. The way will be hidden. If you remember the first video, he talks about people in the Old Testament. They are saved because of Jesus. Not one of them met him or spoke his name. But they're all saved because what light they had, the prophecies and the message that God had given them and the covenants that they had at that time, they believed those. And we're going to see that more and more as we go through Romans. Paul's going to get very deep into all that. But they believed what light they were given, and they had faith in the God they knew. And that is why Jesus sacrificed. They had faith in God. And his plan was Jesus Christ, and therefore they were saved. Even though they'd never met him or known him or really even heard the word Jesus, Yeshua, whichever one you want to use. So, you will call yourselves, verse 17, you who call yourselves Jews are relying on God's law, and you boast about your special relationship with him. You know what he wants. You know what is right because you have been taught his law. The Jews are especially without excuse because they've been talking about God their whole life. This is God's chosen people. You are convinced, 19, you are a guide for the blind and a light for people who are lost in darkness. You think you can instruct the ignorant and teach children the ways of God, for you are certain that God's law gives you complete knowledge and truth. Well then, if you teach others, why don't you teach yourself? Do you think the world ever says that about Christians? You know, I don't know if you were here for communion talk I had last time, but Jan and I were watching the news, and this guy was drunk, and he ran over 3 kids with his pickup truck. Excuse me. He ran over 3 kids with his pickup truck, stone drunk, and he actually left the scene too, probably because he was drunk. I don't even know if he knew he hit him. I'm not sure. But we're both talking to each other and saying, what scum. This guy should rot in jail. What a disgusting, putrid human being this guy is. And it was sad. Let's just say that. Anyway, the Lord just revealed to me or made me think of my youth. And I had driven drunk many, many times. I had done exactly what this guy had done. I had just been blessed that I didn't have to reap the fruit of my sinful behavior and run over some kids. So I was just as guilty as he was. I had done exactly the same thing. Just by the grace of God, I had not hurt anyone as he had. But this is the same way with the Jews and the Gentiles. And Paul is saying, you look down on them, you judge them, but you're doing the exact same things. God will not show favoritism because you are a Jew. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. 21. Well then, if you teach others, why don't you teach yourself? You tell others not to steal, but you steal. You say it is wrong to commit adultery, but you commit adultery. You condemn idolatry, but do you use items stolen from pagan temples? You are so proud of knowing the law, but you dishonor God by breaking it. No wonder the scriptures say the Gentiles blaspheme the name of God because of you. Yeah, no wonder that the ungodly talk bad about your God. It's because of your behavior. We should probably think about that a little bit too. Okay, 26. And if the Gentiles obey God's law, won't God declare them to be his own people? In fact, uncircumcised Gentiles who keep God's law will condemn you Jews who are circumcised and possess God's law, but don't obey it. Just a quick note there, no assumptions. Through the scriptures, you'll hear the apostles and others talk about the circumcised and the uncircumcised. I don't think I need to explain to you what circumcision is, but circumcision was the mark of a Jew. On the 8th day after they were born, they had that flesh removed, and that marked them as God's people, physically marked them. So when he talks about the circumcised or the uncircumcised, he's really talking about Jew and Gentile again. Now here it's kind of explained, but other places it just uses that terminology, and you may not know. Verse 28, for you are not a true Jew just because you were born of Jewish parents or because you have gone through the ceremony of circumcision. Now listen to this. A true Jew is one whose heart is right with God. And true circumcision is not merely obeying the letter of the law, rather it is a change of heart produced by the Spirit. And a person with a changed heart seeks praise from God, not from people. That's a game changer if you don't know that. Not only has he said you behave just like the Gentiles, you have no right to judge them because you're doing the same things. He is now saying that that law isn't even what makes you a Jew. That your heritage is not what makes you a true Jew. Who are the true Jews, according to this scripture? Whose hearts are circumcised. Okay. A true Jew, the Israel of God, is a spiritual people, not a physical people anymore. And the circumcision is not a removal of the flesh in the sense of a cutting away of skin, but it's a removal of the flesh in the sense of not trusting the flesh and the removal of our reliance on the flesh in our hearts and turning to God. So now these people, not only have they been told that the Gentiles are no worse than they are, they're told that these Gentiles are now also considered God's Israel. And for those who don't know, Jew, Israelite, they become kind of interchangeable in the New Testament. Jew, does anybody know where Jew came from? Yep, they are the people of Israel. But why call them Jew? Yeah, Judah and Benjamin were the tribes that were stayed together, that were obedient to God, in some sense. Obviously, from this chapter, we know not completely obedient, but they're the ones who continue to follow God. And yes, they were the southern kingdom. And Judah and Benjamin, Judah itself gives the name Jew, but that area of the two together became called Judea. So all those from Judea were Jews. Like I say, in the New Testament, it's really interchangeable with Israelite. So anyway, the true is, yes, sir. Well, truth of the, it's always been the case in reality, but they were named God's people. I mean, as we go through the New Testament, you see a physical nation in the Old Testament that fought physical wars with physical instruments against physical enemies. Now, those enemies had spiritual forces behind them, but in the New Testament, you see a spiritual nation with spiritual weapons that fight spiritual enemies. It's still the same battle, but it is shown in its truth now, not in its shadow, if you want to say, as other things are called shadows. The Old Testament to me is physical pictures of spiritual truths, the whole thing, and all for the purpose of leading to this time period when Jesus would come and all the truth would be shown through him, not the pictures. So now it's revealed that that is actually by, well, we're going to get into it more, by faith and a change of the heart that makes you an Israelite, not a physical birth, but a spiritual birth. And we've heard of that spiritual birth, born again, and born into the family of God, and the true family of God, God's Israel, the Christians. What do you think Paul's main points are in these two chapters? You were the Romans, and you're reading these. What do you get out of it? What do you think his point is as he's talking about everybody's sin? Yeah. That all are sinners. There aren't the good people and the bad people. There's the bad people. All are sinners. And when we move into chapter 3, he'll make that more clear, and that'll become his focus. So all are accountable before God, number one. No matter what part of the message they've heard, nature and conscience show God to every human being that lives on this planet. All know there's a God, but none follow that God. They all sin. They're all unrighteous on their own. And the true child of God, the true Jew, the true Israel, is based not on heritage, but on heart. A heart towards God, a changed heart by God to bring them into the family of God. And then we'll go on from there. Next time we'll start looking at the law in chapter 3, what the purpose of the law was, what the law was, and see how the goal of this, folks, is to look in the past, and that's what Paul's going to do. He's going to look in the past in the Old Testament in Israel and show how all the things that happened in this history of man bring us to Christ, bring us to where we are today in this letter. And that they weren't just random things, and they weren't just rules, and they weren't just ceremonies. All this stuff is about Jesus. In case you didn't know, from Genesis 1 to Revelation 22 is all about Christ. Every bit of it. And we're going to look at how Paul lays that out over the next months. Thank you. Boy.